Hello and welcome to 2 Minute Drill. I'm Michael Rochman. We've already talked about Jordan Davis, but today we're talking about the other defensive tackle out of Georgia, and that's Devonte Wyatt. The first thing to talk about with Wyatt is his athleticism out of the defensive tackle spot. Ran a 4.77 40-yard dash, which is 97th percentile for defensive linemen. He also showed off some impressive jumps, with his broad jump being at the 82nd percentile. That athleticism also transfers over to his run defense, where Wyatt does an excellent job shooting through gaps and positioning himself to put a stop to the play. Many may argue that Wyatt gets a tremendous bump in production playing next to Jordan Davis, but even in plays where Jordan Davis was rotated out, Wyatt was a high-level contributor in the run game. Watch here against South Carolina as Wyatt is lined up in the nose tackle position, and he works under the block into the backfield and still blows the play up for a loss even when the back cuts behind his blocker. As a pass rusher, Wyatt has plenty of upside. His college production was never elite, but he shows plenty of traits and examples of getting to the quarterback that should translate to the NFL. It's worth noting that Georgia was constantly rotating guys on their defensive line, which could also be a part as to why his production was subpar. As far as weaknesses for Wyatt's game, the length is probably my biggest concern. Too often, Wyatt would get in position to make a play, but not well enough to wrap up the ball carrier, and it would result in a broken tackle. Wyatt's anchor can also run hot and cold at times, but he will mostly need to focus on getting the ball carrier wrapped up and turning those opportunities into production at the next level, or he'll be giving his defense coordinator some major headaches. For a pro comparison, I think of Devonte Wyatt similarly to Javon Hargrave of the Philadelphia Eagles. Hargrave has a similar frame in both size and length, despite Wyatt being a couple inches taller, and I'd argue the transition to the NFL will be a little smoother for Wyatt. But Hargrave is an impressively athletic defensive tackle who's now carved out a consistent role in the NFL, working all over the interior defensive line. I think Wyatt will be a little bit better out the gates and probably has a little bit higher of a ceiling, but ultimately, this is the comparison I'd go with. For draft range, I expect Wyatt to be a first-round pick, and I think it'll be pretty comfortably as well. With the star power of Georgia's defensive line this past season, so much attention has been turned to the likes of Travon and Jordan Davis, which is reasonable, but don't be a fool and overlook Devonte Wyatt, because he's a stud as well. And that's the 2 Minute Drill.